As part of our Green is Universal Week, we're taking some time to look at what the 2008 presidential candidates would do to protect the environment. The Heat is On website looks at what they've said and how they voted on the issue of global warming. With me now is Navin, Nayak, the Global Warming Project Director for the League of Conservation Voters. Mr. Nayak, thank you so much for being with us. This is a fascinating year, 2008, because in the past, you'd have Democrats on one side, Republicans on the other. I almost fell out of my chair when my good conservative friend, Duncan Hunter, said in the middle of one debate, we all know that global warming exists, and we all know we need to do so. It seems to me that this is becoming a more mainstream issue, isn't it?
Well, there's really been a real shift in the last 2 years, and I think you cannot run for president and pretend like global warming isn't happening. The thing we haven't seen yet, though, is there's still a real gap among where the candidates are in terms of their proposals.
And let's talk about that. First, let's go on the Democratic side. I would guess most of the Democratic candidates are more sympathetic to the environmental issues when they're talking to their base. Who do you find to be the most environmentally friendly major candidate?
Well, first of all, Joe, it's not just an environmental issue. I think when people really get this issue, it's an economic issue. We've got $100 oil right now, huge impacts in terms of the cost to energy prices that continue to rise in winter. So it's a huge economic issue, and it's a national issue. We're dependent on foreign nations for a lot of the energy we import. So people who get this, who are ready to address global warming, recognize it as a security issue, as an economic issue, and as an environmental issue.
Right,
the piece that's been really encouraging, the piece that's been encouraging on the Democratic side is you've seen a real competition among the candidates. The candidates are really trying to outcompete each other for who is going to be the biggest leader on addressing this issue, and they're all putting forth really comprehensive plans.
And so, who would you say between Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, who's got the better environmental record?
Well, I think that's. I don't think that's an easy issue to dissect. I think, Senator Clinton came out with her plan yesterday and outlined a lot of very innovative and aggressive ideas. Senator Obama did the same thing a couple of weeks ago. They each have their strengths in terms of policies they're focusing on, in terms of job creation. And I think what's good for the American public is the fact that this issue is finally front and center in our political debate. We've gone too many election cycles, despite the fact that we've known that global warming is a threat, where it's been ignored. And at least the Democratic candidates and Senator McCain on the Republican side has stepped up and said, no, this is going to be a priority in 2009.
I was just going to ask you on the Republican side between Rudy Giuliani, and we've got breaking news, I'm sorry to rush you, but Rudy Giuliani, John McCain, Mike Huckabee, the top-tier guys, Mitt Romney, Fred Thompson. Is John McCain easily the most sympathetic to the cause of global warming?
Well, there's a real distinction. John McCain is the only one who has a plan. So the rest of the candidates may say global warming exists, but they haven't put forward a plan for how to address it. That's like saying, yeah, I think terrorism exists, but I've got no idea of how to deal with it.
Don't have a plan.
And the problem here is that the Republican presidential candidates are so far behind a lot of other leaders in their party. You have one of the most popular Republican governors in Florida, your home state, Joe, who has made this because he recognizes the threat to Florida, and he's been rewarded for the leadership he's taken. Now, those Republican candidates are going to want to go down to Florida and campaign, and if they don't have a policy or an idea or a plan for addressing this, I think they're going to hear some surprising news from the voters.
And you're exactly right. Governor Charlie Crist in Florida came out early in his administration talking about the need to combat global warming, and you're right, he's been rewarded at the polls. Hey, Navin Nayak, thank you so much from the League of Conservation Voters. We greatly appreciate it.
Good to be here, Joe. Thanks.
All right, now some breaking news out of Washington, D.C. There was a question.